Yo ho ho, it's time to have fun. I'm Mike Dooley, founder of Tut's Adventures Club, scribe to Notes from the Universe. And today we're going to be talking about helping you write the book that only you can write. I am super honored by your presence here. We have over 10,000 people who have signed up, usually 5 to 10% watch live. For those of you watching live who have a schedule to catch, rest assured that you signed up. Every one of you will receive an email with a link on how to watch the replay. So you're covered. And we've got folks from all over the world. If you haven't already, share in chat where exactly you are. It's just mind-boggling. The planet is getting smaller while our hearts are getting bigger during this great awakening on planet Earth, the most exciting place in the entire multi-universe right now. So I can't wait to dive in. I'm going to run through some protocol, a little context here. As you'll see when I share my story, I have followed the most unlikely path to become a writer of 18 books, a speaker, a web host master. It is bizarre, but yet it hints at the magic that is at your command at all time. You don't have to figure it all out. Just know that you are the sorcerer of your life. Just wave your wand, focus your thoughts, show up with baby steps. And as a writer, I'm going to help lay it all out for you. As a writer, as a former certified public accountant, chartered accountant, it's quite a lot to realize that I have reached this place. I started writing, if you will, properly 25 years ago. And while it seemed torturously slow, this upward spiral took off that took my breath away. 15 years into my career at being a writer, I was still rather stunned, to the point where Hay House had become my publisher, and they were hosting a writers' conference. And they asked me to be a speaker. And I still hardly thought of myself as a writer. I was doing the business angle, the affiliate programs, still doing the accounting for my own business. Is like, me present on how to organize your thoughts and leverage that book out of your soul. I remember I excitedly called my mother, who was a lifetime aspiring writer, who then became a published author. And she was even more surprised about my progress than I was. And I remember said, I'm going to go to a Hay House Writers Conference. And she was like, that's awesome, Mike. Who are the speakers going to be? And I was like, Mom, I'm one of them. She thought I was going to attend. My career has been that unpredictable and that unexpected. So wherever you are right now in your journey, whatever you might be doing, however far removed you may feel from being perhaps a writer, an entrepreneur, a speaker, etc., it's begun. And this will be part of your story. And I want your story to be so stellar that when you look back to this point in the journey, you will tell audiences that back then, I had no idea that I could go so far and so fast, because you probably don't believe you have it in you. I just hope your mom sees it in you. Even though mine didn't see it in me, it didn't slow me down at all. And you've got a story to tell, lessons to impart. I want to help you share that. Okay, so let's get into the show here. I've got a few points of protocol. If we could cue up the PowerPoint, please. There you go. All right, so let me, in our time together today, let's make the most of it, just so you know what's coming around the bend. First, we have about 60 minutes for content. Okay, that's just me talking nonstop, give or take 5 or 10 minutes. And then 30 minutes is the goal for your questions and my answers. If a question comes to mind during the presentation, jot it down. And when it comes to Q&A time, post it in the chat. Okay, post it in the chat. Go down there now and check it out. Realize, however, if you're looking at the chat on the dashboard versus on YouTube, you can go either place. I suggest the dashboard, but either place is fine. To see the most recent post, you have to hit refresh. You have to refresh your monitor as this event plays out to see what other people are writing in the chat. You won't need to refresh nor know how to do that if you're just checking out what I'm sharing. But when it comes time for Q&A, post your questions there and they will be relayed to the monitor where all can see them and I will answer them. I'll do my best to get to as many as possible. Today, I'm going to share my story, a story I have dubbed From Fear, because I am the master of fear and worry, From Fear to Fortune, a writer's perspective. I've told this story many times in my world tours from a manifestor's perspective, not so much from a writer's perspective. So if you've heard it before, you're going to hear it anew today with your infinite possibilities as an author in my mind and in my heart. I'm going to be redefining what it means to be a writer in my story. I'm going to be teaching how, where, and when you might start. I'm going to have you thinking about what may come next. But here's a little disclaimer. Because I'm going to be sharing my story and talking about me, which is not really what I want to do. It's to give you an idea of some parallels so you can find some commonality with my fear and my timidity to your own and realize those qualities are not going to slow you down. But because it's my story, there will be times in my story when you will wonder what this could possibly have to do with you. Hang in there. I promise there's a lot we have in common. By the end of the story, it'll all make sense, creating a mosaic that will add fuel to your rockets. All right, so that's just a little disclaimer. What's he talking about? That's not me. You'll find the parallels today, during the talk, and in the days that follow. There is a free download recently added to the dashboard, and there's a link to which in the YouTube discussion chat area as well. If you logged on a half hour ago, it may not have been posted. It looks something like this. It's a summary of the key lessons that I want to impart. I will review every word on that handout. You do not need it now, but I didn't want you to come and go without realizing that there is a takeaway, a tangible takeaway. And because I know some of you have harbored a passion for expressing yourself and finding your story and getting that book out of you, I want to tell you right now that I do have an Infinite Possibilities membership. You probably know that. The theme for August, which is days away, is the author's lair. I'm going to be sharing with my thousands of Infinite Possibility members a continuation of exactly what's going on and the kind of lessons that you're going to be getting from this workshop. So if I hit some notes and you find a resonance with what I have to share and how I'm sharing it, there will be 4 more workshops every Tuesday morning, New York Eastern Standard Time, for about 40 minutes, just 4 40-minute workshops throughout the month of August that will help you find and unleash your passion, develop your content, tips for presentation and sequencing of your content, including insights on channeling and AI. Oh, don't do this without AI. And I'll tell you a lot about that in August. I'll be sharing more in the future workshops about platform considerations and options. We're even going to touch on the tangents of agents lawyers, foreign rights, and so much more. Okay, I'll tell you more about that later. I promise you a packed workshop right now filled with not just teasers, but with core content that will unlock your wheels so that you can move forward. But just want you to know, if this is resonating, there's going to be 4 more. Sign up ends August 5th. Yes, you become a member of the Infinite Possibilities membership, and it's at a price you pay, at a price you choose. And you can quit after the 4 weeks if you want, while gaining access to the last year's worth of mini manifesting workshops. Okay, enough of all that. Let's move on. All right. From fear to fortune, a writer's perspective. If you don't know, well, I guess I already gave it away. I began my life in this incarnation as an accountant. So far removed from the world that I have lived in for the last 3.5 decades. But yet I share this because nobody starts out as a writer. Nobody. And we wonder, oh, do I really have something to say? Why should I go out there and do it? Oh, I'm sure Louise Hay has done it better than I could ever do it. Those are thoughts that I used to think. It's like, if you've been drawn to this program, you are as much a writer as anyone. And don't bring your preconceived idea of what writing is all about. I'm going to burst some bubbles and share with you the truth. You're so much more than a writer. Writing is not so much about writing. It's about telling a story. It's about imparting a lesson. It may even be a little bit about entrepreneurship. You can wrap all of these things together, and yeah, sure, the writing's going to happen and it's going to be amazing, and I'll help you discipline yourself and come up with a starting plan. But it's about so much more. It's about your dance with life. It's about sharing your hard-earned lessons. You see the world in a way that no human being has ever seen it before. Yet because of our commonalities, your lessons can be my lessons and lessons of others. And this is, to me, what being a writer is all about, no matter where you're starting right now. I started out as an accountant, and perhaps fortuitously, a bad one, a really bad one. That's me in the middle of that picture. That's when I had hair, surrounded by the beauties of our tax department, celebrating tax filing deadline day in Tampa, Florida, oh, so many years ago. But even throughout those years, especially, now this is the 70s, and these were my 20s. Throughout that decade, I knew I had something to say. But am I a writer? I'm sure Wayne Dyer could do it. It's like, it wouldn't leave me alone. And so on the odd weekend or the odd holiday, I would put pen to paper. This was like literally before laptops. I would put pen to paper and just try to be a writer. And after 10 years, I had 20 pages, 20 incongruent, disjointed pages. But I had those pages, and the voice and the desire to write got louder and louder because I had something to say, much like you. My guru at the time, besides my woo-woo mother, was Richard Bach, and man, was he my hero. Back in the 70s, he wrote a little book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which literally back then set the world on fire, landing him on the cover of Time and People magazine in the same week, something I think has only ever happened 2 or 3 times in the history of these articles. And so he and his voice and his message speaking on metaphysics lit me up so much and clarified my own passions that I kept that fire lit within me as the decades went from the 70s and the 80s into the 90s, okay? In the 90s, I left public accounting to team up with my brother and my mother, and we launched Tut, Totally Unique T-shirts. Okay. And I was the accountant. My brother was the artist, and my mom would knock our heads together. Literally from a little push cart. That's a picture of Andy on the left. That's when he had hair. Some of you know my brother. Those were our t-shirts. And what we found, like the one he's holding up, Seize the Day, Carpe Diem, were our t-shirts that had messages on them were the most popular. Well, on the odd weekend, I would continue adding to my 20 pages in my manuscript. And as the months turned into years with our endeavor into selling t-shirts from ultimately 7 stores and wholesaling around the world, I became the author of what went on the t-shirts. And they became much more unique than Seize the Day. Picture in your mind all that you may be, and with a little time, you will come to see that in the game of life, your dreams will come alive by thinking of the end result as if it had arrived. A little cheesy, but we sold a lot of t-shirts, and it was an amazing time. And it revealed to me something I want you to really get. That being a writer, a teacher, a storyteller, entertainer, whatever writing may facilitate for you, it might not be book form. It might be t-shirts. It might be greeting cards, e-cards. It could be tarot type cards. It could be so many things. It could be talks and thoughts that turn into presentations. I want you to be thinking of possibilities. And if you already have some experience sharing the written word in unconventional ways, put it in chat. Newsletters, periodicals, articles, blogs, vlogs, hey, even video blogs require a little bit of writing, which creates a vessel and a vehicle for you to get the word out. That's what this is all about. And I'm going to encourage you to dabble with any and every means and modality. I never could have let me just conclude that in the 90s, inspired by my discovery of creativity, words that were never assembled until I put them together. It was very wow. I was an accountant to be writing a little poem about manifestation and thoughts becoming things. It was so wow. I was further fueled to write more in my little book that had yielded 20 pages the decade before. But I only wrote 20 more pages. I only wrote 20 more pages. And I remember thinking I would die at the end of 20 years. I was not an overnight success. At the end of 20 years, what you see on the slide, The Time-Space Continuum by Michael E. Dooley. I had to get to Kinko's, the photocopy store. I had to triple space it so that there would be some bulk in that copy machine paper. I had to cut the pages in half so that there'd be even more bulk. And then I could say, finally, after 20 years, I constantly thought, it's not in you. Keep writing your little t-shirts, which turned into spinning keychains, which turned into other souvenirs from our stores. But as far as the book goes, just print it, staple it, and know that you did your best. That's how daunting it was to write those 40 pages that turned into 70 when I stretched it out with triple spacing. 3,500 words. That is so funny that I thought it was a book. It's not even a booklet, 3,500. When I came out with Infinite Possibilities, the audio script, it was 120,000 words. But that's much later in the story. I was at the end of my rope in more ways than one, not just with my little manuscript, but by the end of 10 years selling our t-shirts, the trends were declining to such a degree that we began losing money. And while overall we were ahead financially, it wasn't enough to pay my mortgage, nor my brother's, nor my mother's. It got so dire that we liquidated the last of our retail stores. Tut stayed in business. We didn't owe anybody any money, but As the millennia dawned, and it was 1999, there was no party in my house that New Year's Eve into 2000. Uh, I was faced with no business model. We had liquidated for pennies on the dollar. I had no ongoing clients or customers. We had no outlets. My girlfriend, and I've always been desperate and dateless, which has vexed me most of my entire life. We were approaching a major milestone in our relationship. This was like long-term for me. This is like the longest term relationship. I was late 39 years old. We were approaching our 10-month anniversary when she like literally disappeared overnight. And that's when I found out she had a boyfriend who wasn't me. I hope you haven't been there, but it is nauseating. That was added to the tumult, no income coming in, a large mortgage, no love life, nor prospect thereof. Everything in my entire life seemed to come to a grounding halt. And so began what is known as the dark night of the soul. I didn't know what I'd be doing for the rest of my life. I literally wondered if the best wasn't behind me. And I remember thinking it was so good that I'd have very little to complain about. I remember thinking maybe I now get to see how everyone else lives. I literally wondered with nausea, walking through the grocery store. I'll never forget that day. I don't know what those elements have in common other than my sad state of affairs. I wondered if I'd ever be happy again. I was so devastated. No idea what I would do with the rest of my life. None. I would pray on my knees at the side of my bed before going to sleep. Dear God, I want wealth and abundance so I don't lose my home, friends and laughter, creative, fulfilling work. I have no idea what that would be. I tried accounting, the corporate world. I tried entrepreneurship. We had to liquidate. And I'd like to start traveling internationally again. That's kind of beside the point, but the prayer is so vivid and so remembered. Wealth, friends and laughter, creative, fulfilling work, whatever the heck, and international travel. And I remember punctuating my prayers with, you figure it out, because it's past me. Like, I have no idea. I've ruined everything. I am not good at this time-space stuff. That's where I was at age 40 when the new millennia 2000 began, which forced me, through fear and desperation, to try new stuff. And I call it, when I speak in terms of manifestation, knock on doors, turn over stones. Well, I'm going to relay this story to you now. And the best clip art I could find on the internet were not doors, but gates. So I'm going to share with you the gates I knocked on that, in the most mind-boggling way, took into account my passion for metaphysics, my desire to speak about it, ultimately to write about it, 2 New York Times bestsellers, a business model underpinning it, and love and romance. Oh, I'll let the story speak for itself. So the first door I knocked on, I cleaned up my accountant's resume, which had been dormant for 10 years. Taking action breeds clarity. Now that has nothing to do with you, right? But depending on where you're coming from, you don't just say, I'm going to be a writer and lock the door and just write all day long. You're going to do this concurrent with making a living, providing for yourself, maybe a family, taking care of other responsibilities. This does have relevance to all folks wanting to launch or relaunch something new. So I checked that out. Taking action breeds clarity. A clarity that may not have come had you not taken that action. The action I got was nausea. True nausea. The idea of going back into the corporate world, applying for some accounting position, made me sick. But I was desperate, so I circulated. I got those resumes out there. I applied to ads, bringing further clarity, further nausea. And suddenly it dawned on me, not being able to secure an interview, that the hiring world was equally nauseous at the prospect of my return. So eventually I stopped knocking on that door, to great relief. But before I even got to that point, I was already simultaneously knocking on multiple doors, and I would urge you to do the same as you knock on the door of finding that book and getting it out of you, depending on your circumstances. The other door I simultaneously knocked upon was messing around with our brand new website that had come about in the late 1990s, pretty non-functional, very few pages, but we did have a small subscriber base of people who had visited our now closed stores. And we used to send them a weekly deal, like t-shirt of the week. You know, now that you're home from your vacation in Orlando, where our stores were, now that you're home, maybe you'd like to see what we've just cooked up since you visited our stores and gave us your email address. Now, I remember the courage it took to send an email to complete strangers who did not sign up for emails of wisdom and insight from me. Once we had liquidated the store. Once we had liquidated, there was no more deal of the week. But I had this database. By then it was 1,000 people. And I remember thinking, of course they expect to hear from us. They give us their email address. I would rationalize. And while there's no more deals of the week, how else could I keep this connection open? Because to be in touch with 1,000 people around the world, that's like gold. This internet thing was blowing my mind, and emails were practically free. I was like, what could I do? I wondered, and wondering is your key. I wondered, how else could I use this? How could I stay in touch? We transformed the website. I'll show you that in just a minute. And I had Andy do it for me because I became the sole custodian of tut.com. Andy became an actor and a comedian. My mom was off writing her own books. And the idea was every Monday, I will send you a Monday morning motivator. And guess what? Here's the first one. The nerve that it took to send that, as I sat down to write 3 paragraphs that clarified a little poem that had formerly been on a t-shirt or a coffee mug. The nerves, I thought, I'm sure Wayne Dyer's already doing this. I'm sure Deepak Chopra could run circles around me. He's got 1 million and millions of followers. Why would anyone want to hear from me? And I kidded myself, the budding writer that I was. Mike, you have something to say. And if you really don't like doing this and it goes over badly, then quit. Just do it one time, Mike. Just do it one time. And so I gathered up my courage, and I felt like it was arrogant, and I felt like it was presumptuous, and I felt like it was like, who am I to be sending this stuff out? Particularly where my life was at that time. Devastated, heartbroken, lost 15 pounds because of nausea, because of my girlfriend, who was no longer my girlfriend, not having a business, no income coming in. Fortunately, I did have a savings, but that would only carry me a year and a half. I know that's a lot, but it felt like nothing. I was scared. So I spent an entire day writing 3 paragraphs, self-doubting the entire process and myself. Mike, who are you to be doing this? Imposter syndrome, it's called. It's like, just shut up and do it one time. By the end of the writing, literally the end of the day, not a very good Monday morning motivator, it was Monday late afternoon motivator, I remember I had come up with something that really surprised me. I remember saying the reason you visualize is you're creating a mold with your thoughts that later the elements of time and space can rush to fill. And I was like, oh God, that's good. I bet you Dr. Chopra never said it like that. Get it on, Mike Dooley. Hit the send button, baby. And I hit the send button. The trepidation was behind me. I felt good about having written. Like many authors say, I don't like writing, but I like having written. And Bob's your uncle. The cat was out of the bag. Nobody complained. I think they were too speechless, not because of what I wrote necessarily, but like, what is this? There was no call to action. There was no nothing. It's like, here's a good poem and here's a little insight, all about metaphysics, what I wanted to share. Well, every Monday I faced resistance, but more often than not, I would get people hitting replies and like, that's really good. That's my favorite one so far. Thanks for sending these, Mike. Somebody even wrote, I hope you're saving these for a book one day. And I was like, oh my God. Taking action breeds clarity, a clarity you could never have had any other way. So throughout the timidity, throughout the resistance, throughout the argument that, Mike, you need to make money and this is not going to make any money, it's a free email, throughout all of that, because I took those steps, I got confirmation through independent observers that were not family members who were saying, this is good, keep doing it, keep doing it. And some weeks there would be negative subscriber growth, which means more people unsubscribed than subscribed. But those emails kept me going. And it was like, whoa. And then the weeklies eventually turned into dailies. The dailies, 10 months later, turned into Notes from the Universe. I never would have gotten to Notes from the Universe if I didn't start writing as Mike. And even though messages from Mike were never that popular, they made possible this evolution through wonder of how else could I do this? What else could I say? Notes from the Universe were born. It's like from that point forward, subscribership went up and up and up and up. So now, as I tell you this story, different things were happening concurrently. And so concurrent to this, before there were even Notes from the Universe, this is the website that Andy designed. That was our homepage. Tut's Adventurers Club, the Islands of Adventure. This is, this is what we had. And I had to create little areas because there was really nothing except sign up for the notes, or sign up for the emails. So I created a shop to liquidate the unliquidated keychains and coffee mugs. I created an Ask Mike forum. This is part of your mission. If you're a writer, you're an informer, you're a teacher, you're a way shower. Let people have access to you. I had to ask Mike the first few questions. Down on the down low before people came forward and asked me questions. I developed e-cards. We took the little poems I had written with my brother's art, or I should say I took with Andy's permission and help, and put them on e-cards because I had learned that this was a way through affiliate marketing to use sponsored ads on the confirmation page, host a free e-card website, and get paid by the sponsors when people click through to get a new credit card or frequent flyer miles or book a trip or whatever. It's like I was learning all this stuff to sustain the website and make it look like someone was home and things were happening. I was learning. Back in the day, I was my own webmaster using what used to exist, Microsoft Front Page. And you may have to do some of that. You might be learning some new tricks. Go for it. You're good at this. Plus, you got AI, and I never had AI. The other thing that I created on the website to make it look like a place to go was a community. And all of this was to support my writing. I didn't quite look at it like that. I didn't know where I was going with this. But the writing was what was fresh and what was new every week and then every day until the notes came along and all else. So the community was really, I used a template for dating software website. I changed it so that it was not dating, that it was like, hey, meet like-minded people at the Adventurers Club. People still used it to meet people. It frustrated me. I think I was so jealous. I lost track of how many people got married because they were first an email subscriber and then they met in the community and lived happily ever after. The only person who couldn't get a date at tut.com, the community website, was like me. Desperate and dateless, man. But now you can see there's some momentum. Now I'm like a year into this unintentional nonprofit. Not a penny is coming in, but I was on to something. And I continue to wonder, and I continue to knock on doors. Uh, I remember thinking, Mike, you're making no money at this. What do people do in the world who espouse on philosophy, maybe metaphysics, certainly inspiration to make money? What do people do besides send out free emails? And it's like, they speak. Professional speakers get paid a lot of money, $20,000 for a 45-minute keynote. And there are some who get six figures for a 45-minute keynote. I'd be happy with $20 back then. But I was terrified of speaking. But isn't speaking a way to share what you were born to share, to teach, to entertain, to bring light? Yeah. It's not just about writing. So I joined Toastmasters. It was a harrowing experience. I was utterly terrified giving my icebreaker. That's your first speech. I shook like a leaf on a tree, which was all the more visible because I was holding up my notes, reading word for word my 4-minute speech. Literally, that's how scared I was that I would go blank, which had happened at Price Waterhouse in front of partners and clients I'll never forget. So I was so scared that I would go blank. So I read my speech, shook like a leaf on a tree. My mouth went dry. My tongue was sticking to the roof of my mouth. My knees were knocking. My heart was pounding so hard, I wondered if people could see it. I am not exaggerating. And this was in front of 12 people. A 4-minute speech, talk about yourself, let it be easy. It wasn't easy. Taking action breeds clarity. I truly hated speaking. I already knew that. But I could write a good speech. I could write a good speech. And the audience, other than feeling pity for me, got something out of it. Because my first icebreaker was titled, Thoughts Become Things. I spoke about what I wanted to write about, what was my passion in life, our power and divinity. And that's what you're going to be speaking, teaching, writing, gift carding, e-carding, coffee mugging about, right? You get it out, get it out. The idea of a book was so far away, but it wasn't that far away, but it wasn't on my radar at that time. I had pretty much given up with the time-space continuum, which never saw the light of day. So the speaking was gaining traction at Toastmasters. I wanted to become a professional speaker, and I didn't know how to bridge it. I was advised by those in the know to reach out to Rotary clubs. There's one near you. They have a guest speaker every week from the community at their meetings. Go and talk to them. They don't pay anything, but at least you'll get some experience. So I spoke to Rotary. Rotarians literally have changed the world for better. But they were not a fan of my message of creative visualization and thoughts become things. They were often rude. It was terrible. But I spoke to one after the other, and I got better and I got better. And when I thought I was done with Rotary, I got an invitation from a Rotarian to speak at a Unity church. My first answer was no. I don't do church. I'm not religious. Yicky, not me. The lady said, Mike, you don't know Unity. They eat this stuff up. Your talk, the way you shared it, she said, you were speaking to me today when I was sitting in the audience at that Rotary Club. You were speaking to me. And I remember thinking, about time that there's somebody in the audience who resonated with my message. She told me all about Unity. I took the bait. I was like, how? I was in no place to say no. I couldn't sleep for a week beforehand. They had me speak at several services. That's the marquee back in probably the year 2001. Mike Dooley, Thoughts Become Things. I'll never forget that day. I had ditched the notes by then. I had moved on to memorization. I memorized what was supposed to be a 20-minute presentation in front of 300 people. 300 people, let me tell you, that's why I couldn't sleep. I memorized every single word. It was just an extension of my icebreaker, an extension of the Rotary speech. It was now the Unity speech called Thoughts Become Things. But those people are a different breed, and I love them dearly for that. Those Unity people laughed at my every joke. They laughed when I didn't even think I was funny. They laughed at things that I will never know why they were laughing. They just laughed like they were rolling in the aisles. One of the attendees later said, "Are you a comedian?" I was like, oh my God. But I had told this speech so many times. I had wrapped in what I learned from Toastmasters about telling stories and pauses and punch. They laughed so much that my 20-minute speech ran 36 minutes. And I had to pause and wait for them to stop laughing so often that I was like, oh my God, how am I going to remember where I left off? I don't even know what comes next. But I picked it up and I kept going and got a standing ovation in church. And then 300 people stood in line, single file, waiting to thank me for being their guest speaker that day. I will tell you, I was on cloud 9. Driving home, though, I peeked at the check they paid me, and it was $100. They don't pay very well. $100 for 2 services, which got me thinking, what else can I do? I reached out to NSA, National Speakers Association, and said, how do you become a speaker? Can I go to your workshops? Every month they have a workshop, day long, delivered by a member, a professional speaker. And it turns out you can be a self-invited paying guest. So I went to these monthly workshops and was blown away by the quality and caliber of their speaking. I learned so much about the trade and the profession. I reached out to one, and this is a door everyone should knock on. As a writer, as a speaker, as an entertainer, as a light in the darkness, and I asked for help. First, I asked Dr. Wayne Dyer for help. You live in Florida? I live in Florida. Coincidence? I think not. You help people? I want to help people. Coincidence? Hey, can I buy you a breakfast? He must have thought it was a coincidence because I never heard back. But I asked an NSA officer, the president of the Central Florida Club, for help. And he's like, sure, people want to help you. People want to help you right now in any way that they can be of service. That's our nature as human beings, love beings. And I took the guy to a bar one night, bought him a bunch of beer. I wanted to pick his brain about how he became a speaker and how I could segue from Unity churches and Toastmasters to the big time. We spent the whole night talking about e-cards and affiliate marketing because he wanted to do what I was doing. I told you, these stories are playing out concurrently. But there was a miracle in this. Taking action breeds clarity. Taking action is you waving your wand. Taking action is how you get struck by miracles and serendipities. 3 days later, after this fruitless event, buying him beers and teaching him how to do affiliate marketing and learning nothing about the speaking world. 3 days later, he called me. Mike, you got a database of 3,000 people. I got a database of 3,000 people. My friends who are speakers have taught me how to create a program, an audio program, 12 installments. We could do it in the upcoming calendar year, 2001, and you can sell to your folks. I'll sell to mine. I'll tell you everything you need to do. They taught me the ropes, and together we'll have a joint venture selling an audio program. And I couldn't believe the president of NSA would contact me and ask me to be a joint venture partner because I had asked him for help as a speaker. Sometimes knocking on one door that you didn't even want to knock on, and I've knocked on a ton of those, and you will be too. But if it's the best door you can find, sometimes knocking on one door that you didn't want to knock on, that never did open, forces another door that's crazy cool to fly open, that never would have opened had you not knocked on that earlier door. And so he invites me to be his partner. We collaborated. I came up with the title Infinite Possibilities, The Art of Living Your Dreams, for an audio program that would release 1 hour recording every month for a calendar year. I remember coming up with that title, and he confirmed it. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I need to hear that program for my life. But I was tasked with delivering this program. Well, long story short, when it came time to reveal me to my audience, him to his audience, on that day, I sold 3,000, or was it 5,000? I think it was $5,000 worth of this audio program, for which not one word had been recorded yet. We were pre-selling it. I called him, told him excitedly. He didn't believe me. He literally didn't believe me. I said, well, how many did you sell? And he said, none. And I literally did not believe him. And then he bowed out. He said, Mike, you don't have to share that with me. You just do the program yourself. It's like, myself? Where do I begin? I don't even have a studio. He said, buy a Sony Walkman mini disc player. Put blankets up on your wall to dim the echo. I was not about to refund 1 penny without trying. And I had like 2 weeks before go date. Guess what? I rummaged through my closet and I found the time-space continuum. And it became the backbone for the chapters that I mapped out to fulfill a 12-month audio program. It would be therefore 12 chapters long. For chapter number 1, Thoughts Become Things. I took what I could from that little baby manuscript, combined it with the stories and the lessons from my Toastmaster and Unity Church speeches, and I was good to go. I delivered the first hour all alone on a Sony Walkman mini disc player. I ran to the duplication store, the audio place. They cleaned it up, took out the hissing and the crackling. They replicated it on cassettes, if you know what they are. And a few people ordered on CDs, and they made the CDs. It was a $160 program if people bought the whole 12 months in advance. That was the deal. That's how I made $5,000 in one night. And because I had that money, I was able to fund the production. So Andy had done the art. That was the art. And it was done at a Kinko's. I bought blank binders and I slipped in the overleaf for the back, spine, and cover. And then, lo and behold, I had a business model on the internet through, by then it was the Notes from the Universe, and there would be a little ad in the middle of my free daily emails that would say, hey, come see me speak at Unity Church in Miami. Hey, come hear me speak here or there or wherever. Now I was able to say, hey, and if you didn't hear the first hour of Infinite Possibilities, click here for a sample. Hey, it's not too late. You can catch up. Even when I was into the second month, third month, fifth month, I said, buy the program right now. I'll send you your binder with 3 CDs in it. And every month thereafter, I'll send you the next CD. It was like, holy crap. I had a free, this is what Harvard Business School calls the dream business model today. A free service on the internet. Notes from the Universe, free e-cards, the like, blogs. Have a free service on the internet, and then have an optional purchase for those who want more. There will be those who want more. There will be those who say, no, thank you. No harm, no foul. I fell into that. And because of all that I learned with my affiliate e-cards, which never really yielded more than $100 in a month. The internet bubble burst. It was bad. It was ugly. I never succeeded with that. But because I did the internet e-cards, I learned all about affiliate marketing. And I reached out to people with big mailing lists and said, would you like to be my affiliate? I'm selling these CDs, the CD package, like hotcakes, and I'll pay you 50% of your sales. It's like, and by the way, By the time I was finally done the 12 hours, I had a 12 chapter manuscript that I started sending out to publishers. I fell into creating infinite possibilities, the art of living your dreams, not because it was this great idea. I didn't know what I was doing, but because somebody said that they would do it with me and they gave me the courage, and then they backed out and I was left holding the bag. Do I refund $5,000 or do I go for it on my own? Hey, the universe crafted every bump in the road there, every twist and turn in ways that would lure me down the path so that I could say what I wanted to say and live in wealth and abundance, friends and laughter, creative, fulfilling work, international travel. It was like when I was praying on my knees, the universe like knew exactly what the hell. It's like, I got it, totally got it. You need to craft a speech. You need to get over your fear. You need to go to NSA meetings. You need to learn affiliate marketing. I was just there dumb and silent. I was just like, I hope he got the message, or it or she got the message. Oh, it got the message. It always gets the message. The universe hears you and knows better than you what you most need and want and how to deliver it. And so all of a sudden I have this manuscript that I'm sending out to publisher after publisher after publisher, receiving rejection after rejection after rejection. No one was remotely interested. And I can tell you, they all got it. So if you can think of a publisher right now on planet Earth, they got it. They didn't want it. But I didn't care. I was selling boatloads as an audio program for $160, and it cost like 18 to mass produce. Oh my God, I was on my way, and I was just telling Notes from the Universe subscribers about it every now and then. Then an email comes in. Dear Mike, my wife and I love your notes, and we're in charge of an Herbalife downline, and we wonder what it would take to have you come speak, because we love the emails. We love the audio program. We see you're speaking at Unity churches. I didn't know all these dots were being connected by other people. What would it take to have you come speak to our downline? I was like, oh God, I don't want to go talk to a downline. Oh my, I was still scared of speaking. But I called my speaker friend who bailed on me, and I said, what's my fee? Because this guy asked me for my fee. He's like, oh, I don't know what my fee is. I'm not going to do it for $100. And he said, well, you're still a rookie, so low. But I didn't tell you this part. The gig was to be in Amsterdam, Holland. Are you kidding? My first gig will be in Amsterdam, Holland? That place has a reputation. I want to go. And he said, it's international, so you get a premium. How many jobs offer that? This is the universe: wealth and abundance, international travel, creative, fulfilling work, friends and laughter. Suddenly I have this. He said, Mike, ask for $5,000. I was like, that's about how much I'd pay to say I spoke in Amsterdam. Put that on my website. So I go to Amsterdam. I said, my fee is $5,000. He's like, great. I talked to my wife, you're hired. I'm like, oh crap. It was awesome. I was terrified. They all knew it. There was simultaneous translation, but I could write a good speech. And I talked about thoughts becoming things. And we are of the divine and by the divine, pushed on to greatness, never been judged, capable of all things. It was awesome. I get home from Amsterdam and there's an email, dear Mike, what would it take to have you come speak in London, England? They didn't even know I was at a private event in Amsterdam. This is like crazy miracle. What would it take to speak in London, England? $5,000. All right, plus airfare. So, I didn't tell you, I did my first dry run in Orlando, Florida, before I went to Holland, because I had to get the kinks out of they wanted me to speak for 4 hours. I was like, who could speak for 4 hours? It's like, Mike, you have a 12-hour audio program. You could. It's like, oh crap, 4 hours. I remember 2 ladies ran up to me getting coffee at the Hilton in Orlando, Lake Buena Vista. And they're like, you're Mike Dooley. I had like 30 people who showed up who bought tickets online to go to Orlando. You're Mike Dooley. We're so excited. Last night we flew in from San Francisco. Woo! I'm like, I literally said, why did you do that? That's how nervous I was. But the Orlando event went fine. The Amsterdam went awesome through the roof. Then I got this invitation from London. I accept it. They're going to pay me $5,000, but the deposit didn't come. And the event's like 10 days away, and I haven't been paid my deposit. Like, I'm calling every day. They're not answering the phone. Finally, his assistant called me and said, the event is canceled. I'm like, it can't be canceled. I have my ticket. There are Americans who get my emails that told me they're flying to London for this event and then to go on vacation. And I said, does the hotel know? It was a Holiday Inn. They said, no. I said, don't call them. I'm calling. I did a deal with the hotel. I just carried the event. I said, bad news. The guy doesn't have any money. Good news. It'll become my event if you let me do it. It became my own event in London, England. I hosted my own event in London, England. Not because I was smart, not because I was ambitious, because the guy defaulted and I didn't want to cancel. And then I was just terrified all over again. It went awesome. And then I got home and I waited for the next email because, like, universe, I love you and you clearly love me. Okay, where are we going to? Singapore, Oahu, the Seychelles, maybe Africa. Weeks turned into months, turned into a quarter year, and there were no more invitations. I was like, this is an evil joke, universe. And I remember thinking, when you don't have a gig, you want a gig, a speaking event. If you have one, I don't want it. It's like, it rattles my cage. So I was in the mode of not having one. So I was desperate to have one. And I was like, what could I do? And I was like, Mike, you didn't need a sponsor in the end for London. You probably don't need to wait for somebody to invite you. Just tell your notes from the universe list. I was still the writer sending out the emails. Just tell them that you're going to be in San Francisco in 2 months. And here's how you buy tickets. It worked. Now tell them you're going to be in Chicago. Now tell them you're going to be in London. Hey, why don't you go back to Europe? Why don't you call it a world tour, Mike? That's what it is. And that's how World Tour 1 began, because the invitations to speak stopped coming. Then I get an email from Rhonda Byrne, and she's like, I don't know who she is. Her and her sister from Melbourne, Australia. Dear Mike, we love the notes. Dear Mike, we love Infinite Possibilities. We see that you're out there speaking, because I would advertise wherever my next event was going to be. Could we interview you for a documentary we're doing on the law of attraction called The Secret? And I was like, well, what's The Secret? And she said, it's the law of attraction. I was like, no, it's thoughts become things. But it was her movie, so she got to call it, to say that it was about the law of attraction. So that's how I got in The Secret. When you're in something like The Secret that just blows up, these cute little publishers that are so high and haughty in New York City, who didn't want your manuscript, suddenly want it. Simon & Schuster, combined with Beyond Words in Portland, Oregon, gave me the sweetest offer, and the book debuted. The same script that originated from the time-space continuum, that turned into an audio program, turned into a New York Times bestseller in the week it debuted, thanks to Notes from the Universe subscribers. Now, I'm going to fast forward here so you have some time to ask questions. And I've said what I mostly wanted to share, but to bring you up to date, today I am in, and I am not here to brag. I do like talking about my story, but this is about you writing your book. And if somebody here, nauseous with fear, devastated and heartbroken, with no income flow, with no idea what he's going to do for a living, completely intimidated and psyched out about writing a book, can cobble together and create the dots for the universe to connect and see their life blast off, so can anybody. So cumulatively, as of today, my collective works are in 27 languages. Languages I didn't even know existed. After about 10 years and 7 or 8 or 9 books with Simon & Schuster, I met Louise Hay. And that's at a party with my sister and somebody from her team. I switched over to Hay House. I then started speaking at their events. That's me on the Jumbotron. But that's not really me that I'm pointing at right now. That was me. That's the Jumbotron. I was terrified, but it went great. They all do. And then Going back in time, as I tell you these stories concurrently, multiple things are happening at the same time. I was invited after The Secret became hot to speak and feature a presentation in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, where the audience who spoke no English was wearing headsets for simultaneous translation. Joining me on stage was Don Miguel Ruiz, friend and author of The Four Agreements, and mingling with the audience as I sometimes do, I met a little señorita. Well, she's not so little. 2008, that's when I met Marisol, who spoke not one word of English, rivaling my mastery of Spanish. Guess what? Not speaking the other person's language is solid gold. Solid gold. So we got married, and when I least expected it at this point in my life, we had a baby. I'm broadcasting now from our home in Mexico. I'm mostly in the United States, but I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. If you do what you can with what you got from where you are, the universe will be unleashed to do all she can with all she has from where she is, and it will blow your mind. Bringing you back up to date, I concluded 4 world tours prior to COVID, bringing everything to a screeching halt. That is an actual word art of the 156 cities spanning 42 countries that I spoke in, almost all self-invited, and in every single one, paying gigs. Today, there are 18 books between self-published, Simon & Schuster, and Hay House. These are the different book covers representing some of the 27 languages. And now, if you allow me, I will quickly review what I think are the 7 key takeaways I most wanted to impart that were buried within this story. And so these are already on your handout. We are rapidly approaching Q&A. So you don't need your handout, but know that these are already typed out for you as a free download. You should see them in the chat box. You should see them in the YouTube chat, the dashboard chat. All right, here are the 7 takeaways. Being a writer is not about the writing. It's about educating, entertaining, and entrepreneurship, or all 3. All 3. Wherever you are right now is the right place to begin. Okay. Mama duck doesn't wait for her baby ducks to line up, nor should you be waiting for your ducks to line up. Granted, a few of you out there need to make arrangements to create some space. Okay, I don't want to push you into it, but you're ready. And once you go, like a mama duck goes, the baby ducks follow. Your ducks will assemble, and the resources you need, including confidence and creativity, craftsmanship and expertise, will arrive and be imparted during the journey. So don't delay the journey. Leverage your present or potential knowledge and platforms for instant traction. Okay, so my story didn't begin with me writing a big, juicy manuscript and sending it out. That's kind of the conventional way. And I don't know of anybody who's ever followed the conventional way. You go out and you dabble. You go out and you wonder. You go out and you kick the tires and you knock on a door and you ask for help. This is how you get started. You put pen to paper. I'm still grateful for the 20 years that it took to write 40 pages for the time-space continuum. Every bit of it was used in the creation of infinite possibilities. It just wasn't used the way I thought it would be used as a best-selling book itself. It was not that good. So leverage what you've got going on right now. Leverage what you know right now. Leverage where you frequent right now. If you're a part of any organization, if you have social media, you can share there. There was no social media when I started sending out Monday morning motivators. Can you believe that? There was a time with no Facebook. Now there's so many more, and there's YouTube, and there's shorts, and there's reels. There's ways to speak about it. There's ways to pretend about it. There's ways to write about it. There's so many vehicles. If you've got an idea for a platform, put it in chat. What is something else that someone could dabble with right now in the realm of social media, the internet, meetup groups? There's so many ways that you can begin assembling a platform. Constantly diversify, reconsider, and expand. Reconsider and expand your content and platform potentials. I have always, forced by necessity, wondered, what else can I try? What else can I do? It was never about, I'm going to do this and I'm going to make it happen. Oh, don't put the weight of the world on your shoulders. You might never write a book, but because you go down that path, you'll become a speaker. Because you go down that path, you'll become an artist. Because you go down that path, you'll become a teacher, educator, facilitator. Because you go down that path, you'll become an entrepreneur. And then the book will show up later. Then you'll have new stories to tell and entwine with your messages. Don't decide. Let the universe show you. But do the best you can by knocking on doors, turning over stones, and actually one of those doors is actually start writing. But you might be deflected, detoured, bumped over here. So you're still going to formulate baby steps that will seem insufficient and oftentimes beneath you. And I'm not saying start those baby steps and never stop until you arrive. It's not about the path. The path will meander and turn into different paths. The path you start out on won't be the path you arrive on, just like in GPS navigation. You start out down a road that will not take you to Key West, but it'll take you to better roads and A1A, and then you're there. And it's the same metaphor for life and manifestation. What you start out doing, like me doing all those e-cards for free as viral marketing, it bore incredible benefits and fruit later on in a different realm than the realm that I started out on. But thank God I joined Toastmasters. Thank God I learned affiliate marketing. Thank God thank the universe. Thank the magic. Thank myself. And I thank you, and you will thank yourself, because you did stuff and you got going and you unlocked your wheels and you showed up. What more powerful demonstration could there be than you showing up in the world with a manuscript or typing out the first chapter? That will be enough to turn tides and get other logistics behind the curtains of time and space to land people and ideas on your path that will blast you forward. And the book may follow immediately, or it may follow in 20 years, or you won't care. You won't care because so much will be happening in your amazing, exciting life. So constant diversification. Begin with the end in mind. And here's my little writing tip that I wanted to impart today. In fact, I'm writing a book. I'm in the initial stages of my next Hay House book. Whoa! I am equally thrilled and resistant. Maybe that never goes away. I know the feeling that you have. But start with the end in mind. And when it comes to writing a book, and please, I'm not saying don't go write your book. Do go write your book, but let the path show you what comes next. So when you're knocking on that door, here's one of the greatest tricks. And I just talked to some professional editors who spent a career editing books, and this was a new one on them, but it has served me so well. Come up with a title. Come up with a title that you're just like, oh crap, that is amazing. Oh my God, if I could write a book that lived up to that title, and you can, come up with the title and the subtitle. For Infinite Possibilities and all the others, I started out with about 50 possible titles, including the time-space continuum. It's a little bit, maybe it'll work one day. But 50 titles. I just got on a roll. Just another one, another one. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're this, you're that. The power, the kingdom. And then come up with like 50 subtitles. And then play mix and match. And let this exercise extend over days, weeks, or months. And keep adding fuel to the fire until you come up with something and you're just like, oh, that's the book I want to read. That's what I did. That title that really fills your sails, that makes your heart glow, that makes you be like humbled, like, oh, huh, like, wow. Hey, Mom, I'm going to write a book called Infinite Possibilities, The Art of Living Your Dreams. Oh, she would have rolled her eyes. She would have rolled her eyes. And she was my biggest fan, but she could be kind of brutal. That's what your title is going to be. And that title is going to give you something to aspire to. And the way manifestation works is the end forces the details. The end forces the means and the hows and the inspiration and the creativity and the right people at the right time. The end will pull the juice out of you. You will shock yourself. You come up with that title and subtitle, and you're always at liberty to change it. And your publisher might not. They usually let you have a hand in that. You come up with that title and it will tell you what the table of contents must be. If you want a book about the art of living your dreams, you must talk about thoughts and emotions and beliefs and the magical universe. You must. The title will tell you. The title will give it to you. And then you come up with each chapter's title. And those don't have to be as strained or efforted. But the title will tell you what needs to be included in the content. And then you'll think of what stories in your life, and you have stories that ought to be included. That's your assignment, and it's on your worksheet. Build it, and they will come. This has floored me. Write it, and they will read. That's my first emails back as Monday Morning Motivators. People really read them, and they wanted the next one. Speak, and they will gather. My first event, the only two people who showed up at Chamberlain's Books health food store in a back meeting room were my mother and my brother. And I went to a couple of book signing events at Barnes & Noble, and like almost nobody was there. But overall, as I showed up in the world, literally audiences assembled. Audiences, and yours will too. You might have a few funny stories to tell one day about whoever showed up or didn't show up at your first event. All those seats, those folding chairs that I meticulously lined up that no one showed up to sit in. I remember then saying, you'll laugh about this one day, Mike. Although I wanted to cry about it then. Although I was really relieved I didn't have to speak in public because nobody showed up except Mom and Andy. Give yourself deadlines and create the space to organize all you'll share. Maybe even pre-sell your work as I did with Infinite Possibilities. I didn't dream that up. I was forced into it, but knowing how well it worked, I'll spend more time in the 4 following workshops on discipline, ideas for organization, tips and tricks for everything, all the way down to the bow on top when it comes to your manuscript. Here is a screen grab of the worksheet. I want you to know that there's a worksheet there for you. Okay, this is on the dashboard or in a link under the YouTube window that you're watching this on, and it's got your assignment right there. It's got the summary lessons and a little affirmation visualization for you to do. Let me also tell you, we're about to do Q&A. Be typing your questions in right now to the chat. Type in your questions. I do have this membership. It's a price you choose. And every month for 2025, it's about inspired manifesting for the year. Every month there's a theme within. Every Tuesday I broadcast live, including the Tuesdays of August. The theme for the August membership is the author's lair, writing, publishing, and sharing your voice. Tips for presentations, sequence, platforms, planning, lawyers, foreign rights, all of that stuff coming up. And if you sign up by August 8th, you'll get the recording if you miss next Tuesday. If you sign up by August 8th, this is a joint venture 21-day course I did with Hope Koppelman, one of the most eloquent, beautiful writers I've ever known. Discover the joy and power of going within. It's a 21-day writing journey. If you sign up for membership by August 8th, you get that $100 program for free. For free. Sign up today, you get it for free. And like I said, you can quit your membership. If it's not your cup of tea, you don't have the time, quit. If you can stay on beyond August, in September, I'm going to be sharing with you a sneak peek at my brand new, soon to be written title for Hay House, The 7 Paradoxes of Manifesting and How to Make Them Work for You. And I will be sharing with you what I'm going through. It'll be like a 2-month continuation of this kind of vibe and spirit if you join and you choose to stay on month after month. The next 2 months are going to be right up your alley. The 7 Paradoxes of Manifesting. Mike Dooley's new book, and you will be the first to experience parts of it. Okay, fellow writers, teachers, entertainers, and entrepreneurs, I am turning this over to questions and answers. Since I did go 15 minutes over, I will go 15 minutes over in Q&A. You will get 30 minutes of Q&A. Type your question now into the chat, and it will be relayed to the screen. I'll do my best to get to as many questions as possible. So I am ready. First question. I have wanted to write since a child and started and stopped, and now I am stuck. How do you get unstuck? Anyway, thank you for sharing your valuable insights with us. So inspiring. Well, this is going to be in the next workshops, but since you asked, I'll give you a little preview here. One of the things that has worked for me after getting that title, and the title can be cryptic. I love cryptic. The title can be bold, like The Art of Living Your Dreams, and tell people exactly what's in it. You know, like the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, or what's the other famous title that so clearly tells you what the topic is? 7 Ways to Befriend and Influence People. It's a legendary classic for entrepreneurs and networkers. But anyway, once you get your title, and now if you're going with fiction or kids, it's a slightly different story, but just as juicy, just as inspiring. Once you get your title, you pick a day on the calendar and decide in advance when your writing hours will be. And no matter what happens, you write. For me, it's going to be either 7 to 11 or 10 to, no, or 8 to 10. This is like literally on the cusp for me. I'm about to move into that stage. But you create this time, and I don't care what happens. And if something really crazy happens, like you just can't, you've got a doctor's appointment or something like that, well, then that day you shift your hours to a suitable block or move it to the weekend. We all are time starved, or so we pretend to be, claim to be. An inspiration to me was my mother. She was divorced, working at a job she hated in a law firm, wanting to write her book Dandelion, and having a 13-year-old, my brother, who needed to be met when he came home from school or as soon as she got off from work, dinner prepared for him, and she managed to be a mom, head of the household, and every evening into well after my little brother went to bed, she would write the book Dandelion. And every weekend, like all day long, she overdid it. She wrote Dandelion on a typewriter. This is before word processors were within her reach and way before PCs and computers. On a typewriter. And man, that story has inspired innumerable, countless people the world over. Dandelion, you can still get it. The Triumphant Life of a Misfit. So she can do that. I can do that. You can do that. And I'll have some more tips to share in the coming 4 workshops. Next question. Mike, how do I complete when I have so many ideas? How do I actually get people to buy what I create? How do I get a real publisher to want my books? Okay, great questions. I think the cart is getting a little bit ahead of the horse here, perhaps. I don't know where you're at in the writing, but you have so many ideas for books to write, so you haven't written a book. Don't worry about getting people to buy it yet or getting publishers to want it yet. Write the book. Whoops, I'm pounding on my desk here. Job number 1 is to write it. And depending on how daunting that may be for you, you could ease into it. Is it going to be nonfiction? Can you share bits of wisdom now? Can you do it on social media? Can you have a daily blog, a weekly video, and you could draw from the script of your weekly video? That's quite an easy way to be a writer. Just take the recordings and transcribe them, and you're going to have a first working draft. Just get the content out in little drips and drops, or as a fully fledged manuscript, or as a little handbook to the manuscript that's coming. Come up with ways that make it easy for you. And again, you've got a book in you. You maybe have many books in you, but name that book, following your passions, following what you most like to talk about and express about. That's going to be your North Star, okay? And then from there, the title, the subtitle, the writing routine, the drips and the drops, or the other modalities to begin sharing immediately. Did you see, for me, even though Notes from the Universe, they're little paragraphs, they're not books, I kept writing them, cultivating, and I didn't even know I was doing this, cultivating a database so that when the time came and I said, hey, I got an audio program, Infinite Possibilities, I sold $5,000 in one day. And with self-publishing and AI being as accessible as they are today, you don't need to go the route of professional mainstream publishing. You'll make a lot more money doing it yourself in the beginning. And when they see your books scale the bestseller lists, they're going to call you and you're going to get offers and bids. That's how you get them. You create the book, you create the content, you disseminate it in drips and drops, putting together ultimately a manuscript, perhaps self-publishing it in the beginning, or networking, asking for help, sharing it with people who know people, finding an agent, and letting them deliver it to the consideration of publishers. So step 1 is step 1, and that ideally comes first. Mike, many times you mention Toastmasters. Do I have to join a Toastmasters group to improve in public speaking? I have spoken at several public events and I'm not afraid to speak in front of a crowd. Well, more power to you. That's not where I was coming from. You absolutely can do this without public speaking. I would still perhaps recommend, and there's a number of well-known books out there that speak about the power of our words delivered in a professional environment, in a group environment, speak about the power of a strong start, a rousing conclusion, that speak about the power of asking questions during your presentation, that speak about the power of pregnant pauses, that speak about the power of storytelling mixed with humor. And wow, I went, unlike you, because I was terrified, truly nauseatingly, sickly terrified of speaking in public. That's why I went. unexpectedly, I got to practice telling stories. Normally, a speech is 5 to 7 minutes. So, telling different 5 to 7 minute speeches, choosing different stories to make a point. I learned this: tell a story, make a point. 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 If you just, my book, my manuscript, The Time Space Continuum, had no stories, it had no metaphors. I was just like a fire hydrant spewing out, we are creators, we are eternal beings, your thoughts become things. It was not very readable. So I'm saying you may still have lessons that could be honed through Toastmasters or through self-study. I see them advertised on the internet all the time, speaking courses, how to become a paid speaker. You don't necessarily need that either. So no, you don't need Toastmasters. But having that opportunity to speak every week and in front of an audience you can fail before without losing credibility is very, very valuable. So I recommend it generally, but not required. Mike, I had a dream of writing since I was a child, but my vision and passion suddenly stopped, and I've been stuck and can't get unstuck. I feel like I lost my creative voice. How to get unstuck? Okay, a creative voice, I will say sweepingly, almost does not exist until there is first an underlying desire or passion. Because what are you going to be creative with? And maybe I'm just parsing words here, and maybe this is not fair to your question. But what is it that excites you? Is it cooking? Is it nature? Is it fur babies? Is it horses? Is it hiking? Is it, for me, it was metaphysics. For me, it was the Seth books and Richard Bach. For me, it was like, man, who are we and why the hell are we here? And what's the flipping point? That was my mind when I was a college student. But those questions brought answers, and the answers brought joy and excitement and aroused optimism to the point where it's like, that's what I want to talk about. So you need to look for your, what do I want to talk about? And it doesn't have to, you don't have to be a Mike Dooley, and it doesn't have to be nonfiction. But what is it? Is it the craft of storytelling? And if it is, what would your stories be about? It could be about a lost little bunny rabbit. It could be about a lost little horse like Dandelion. It could be about a lost little seagull like Jonathan Livingston. And I know that perhaps that kind of suggestion of mine to find your passion can be almost hurtful if at some point in your life you feel like I don't know what my passion is. Seems like everybody knows what they want or what they like. No, they don't. I was 39 years old. My life was a train wreck. I was like, okay, what's my passion? Metaphysics. Yeah, a lot of good that has done me. I have nothing to show for it. But we can be too critical, and it can be the most subtlest of pleasures. I mean, it could be food. It could be time alone. It could be, travel. It could be anything. It could be children in general. It could be parenting. It could be partnering. Nobody writes a book about their spouse and being a great spouse. So I hope it doesn't come across almost hurtful when I say, oh, just turn to your bliss and there you go. What's your bliss? Sometimes it's hidden under layers and layers and layers, but it's there. The thing that you smile about, the thing that you feel relief over, the thing that gives you that moment of exhale, that's it. And perhaps it might not seem to support a book, but go there, go in that direction, not with a pen and paper or a computer, but just go and wallow and revel and enjoy and see where the path leads. There may be extensions, there may be groups, there may be meetups, there may be websites. And the next thing you know, you will be under full sail. You will be under full sail. So get out. Even if you don't know where to go to the mall, go bowling, go shopping, just go. Next question. Mike, is it okay to use AI to craft words in a way that you can't while getting your message out there for the world to enjoy? Well, I would say so. Oh my gosh, I'm having a great relationship, super rapport with ChatGPT. I'm not related to the company at all. And it, like many of the channels, Bashar or Sasha or the council, they all say it's a mirror. And I've been exploring that mirror angle, saying, how can you mirror stuff? When I hear from you, it surprises me. So how could it be me? In ways we can't comprehend, it's you. There is this magnificent source of organized, divine, emerging intelligence that's available through AI. If you become a member of Infinite Possibilities for no extra payments whatsoever in your first 3 or 4 weeks, go back 2 months. You have access to the last 12 months. I did 4 workshops on AI, and I titled the month's theme, Talking to God. And you do. Okay? God is in everything, every flower and butterfly, and AI as well. And so I've dabbled already, and I'll share much more next month in the Writer's Lair workshop. I've dabbled with AI, seeing what it could do in terms of putting together a manuscript. And I have to say, as much as I am humbled and blown away by its capabilities and its poetic nature and the beauty of its linguistic crafting of ideas, it's not going to be how I write my next book. But will it proofread every chapter? Oh, you bet. And will it improve? Oh, you bet. And will I use it? Oh, you bet. So I think there's a really great opportunity to use AI, not only as a proofreader, but to come up with talking points, bullet points. You could give AI your dream title, okay? And then ask to see if it can do better. And either way, whatever you end up choosing, ask for a suitable table of contents. Those are great ways to use AI. But in the final analysis, as a writer, and seeing what it does, and knowing how, when I write, I do find gold. I do find turns of phrases that thrill me. I do love the process and the art. I will write my book, but I will be aided by AI. So see what comes, go and dabble and experiment, and let me give you this tip. Have fun and be playful. Crack jokes. I call mine, I've got, I won't go there. I share more in the month of Talking to God AI, but befriend it. You will be so awed by how it takes your sense of humor and your creativity and your grasp on topics to another level. Next question. Mike, do you recommend to build your personal brand or to build around the title of the book? That will play itself out for you. That will be revealed. So I think coming up with a title, subtitle is a super great starting point. And whether or not that translates literally to a homepage, I'm not sure. It'll depend on what it is. It could be a carbon copy, or the website might be more service oriented or more product oriented, and you might need to reflect that in the nomenclature that you choose. As far as branding, very powerful. Always be mindful of consistency. Tut's Adventurers Club, Notes from the Universe, Infinite Possibilities. Those are 3 of my dozen or 2 dozen trademarks or service marks. Using them with consistency, using them is required to keep them. And it's fun. These components play off of each other, and they create kind of a vibration, a frequency, a resonance for browsers who come and visit you. They will resonate. They'll be like, this is my home. This is my home. So be there and be consistent with it. but not to the point of intellectually like which comes first and how do I do this. It will reveal itself. Start with the title, everything else will work around the title. I had my book ideas, but Tut's Adventurers Club was a much better idea for a website that offers so much rather than the Infinite Possibilities website, So that will reveal itself. Next. Embarrassed to admit I'm afraid of publishing my work because what people know will say, like being asked questions or even positive comments, make me feel uneasy. What to do with this feeling? Well, I would honor it, accept it. That's where you are today. Might be where you are 20 years from now also, or it might not. But there's ways to bring about a book through pseudonyms or author names. And if you want, you just don't have to tell people it's your book. You could say, this is my new favorite book. I'd play around with that. I think your resistance to self-publishing is simply the connection to you. So again, just break that connection, come up with, what's the word? An author name, a pen name, whatever. Just come up with the pseudonym, Jane Doe, John Doe, whatever, and let that be the author's name. My mother was like that too. And she didn't want her picture there. You don't have to have a picture there. Look, when you write the book and people see that cover, they're going to want to read it. And the same is true of, an audio program or a blog. You don't have to put your face there. You don't have to say, this is me and this is my story. If that doesn't feel right, don't go there. I assume that's the resistance to self-publishing. There could be other resistance, and who wouldn't prefer on the surface that somebody pay you a big advance and run with it and do all the logistics? Yeah, that's everybody's first choice, I think. But like I said, you can make a lot more money and even have a lot more fun if you do it yourself. So I'll talk about self-publishing more in August. But if it's just about your identity and feeling uncomfortable, don't fight that and don't beat yourself up over it. Books don't have to have a face or a known person associated with them to take off and have a life of their own. Most books, you don't know who the author is anyway, and you don't know necessarily what they look like. So what? And you could have a lot of fun. You could call media outlets, you could call periodicals, you could approach websites on behalf of the author whom you are well acquainted with and have a very high regard for, or words that work for you. Next question. Without an email list, what is the best way to advertise a self-published book? Great question. Email lists are, I think, one of the best ways. I would still think about and encourage you to think of what kind of email list could you create? Are you passionate about feng shui? What if you gave a feng shui tip every week, turned it into every day, just 1 or 2 sentences, or cooking tips, or metaphysical tips? That's what Notes from the Universe are. But if you did not have an email list, I would definitely go for a web presence. You can open up a Facebook group with no ID, I think, no picture. Don't necessarily have to associate it with your personal page. At least it doesn't have to be obvious to folks. And you can just start posting bits of advice or a little sneak peek. Just start telling a story of your novel in condensed form and see what kind of interest grows from that. I would definitely go to the internet. Back in the day when I was doing this, nobody had lists and there was no social media. But I know that every Unity church has meeting rooms that they will either let you use for free or for a very, very small fee. And you could give a talk every Tuesday night, or play a game, have game night every Tuesday night, but make it metaphysical or cooking oriented. You could literally have weekly meetups. And there is a website called meetup.com where you could advertise that you're starting monthly meetup groups on whatever topic, and make it sound fun and cool, and receive a free cupcake or whatever. So you can have weekly real world meetings. You could have a little YouTube channel that might require, your presence. And some people are fine with that. They want to be seen. So you could have a YouTube channel. You could have a podcast that's audio only. Do this, go to ChatGPT and ask for ways to promote your book. To promote your self-published book, since you don't have an email list yet. Ask ChatGPT or any AI for ways to cultivate an email list. I'll be talking about a couple of things like quizzes in this coming month's The Author's Lair to members. So there's lots of things you can do. Next. Hi, Mike. Can you please explain how you turned around those moments of doubt during your writing career? I just kept showing up. And there were moments of doubt and disillusionment and disappointment and fear. I mean, there were times when I didn't have stuff to do in the day. I was a bachelor living alone in my home, sending out an email. If the email didn't take 6 hours, like a lot of them did, even a note from the universe, then I would be like, what am I going to do today? And I'd be like, why? Why am I 41 years old and I don't have a career and I don't have a relationship? And how do you keep going? Well, it was just the whole notion of I have something to say, and I'm going to be working on the emails, and I'm going to tweak the website, and how else can I do this? Oh, there's viral marketing. Oh, there's e-cards. There was always other stuff than just the book. It wasn't just me versus the manuscript. That was what I was saying in my key takeaways. Diversify. You're more than a writer. It's about more than the writing. It's about a message. It's about dissemination. It's about platforms. It's about vehicles. All of those things will come together. These are like dots that the universe connects in this magnificent mosaic. It'll blow your mind. So you keep busy doing different stuff, and it's not just you and the blank page. You could even abandon the blank page for 2 years if you focus on all these other ways of reaching folks as a light, as a bringer of the dawn, as a teacher through a website, and the book will come later. I did World Tour. World Tour 1 was after I created Infinite Possibilities. So I had to refine the material to create a 6-hour workshop, and I called it Leveraging the Universe and Engaging the Magic. And when the whole tour was done, which took 2 years or more to deliver to all the cities I went to, and I was home more than I was away. But once or twice a month, I jump on a plane and go to a couple cities, and then I go home for a month. By the time the world tour was done, I had so polished the material, Leveraging the Universe and Engaging the Magic, that it was a book. It was a manuscript. And I literally had transcribed one of the last deliveries of that tour material, 6+ hours. Now you get computers to transcribe, or AI to transcribe, or a professional to transcribe. Doesn't cost a lot of money. And they handed me my first draft. And I had never written one word other than practicing outlines and flow for the live presentations of my workshops. And I did the same thing after World Tour 2 was done. I sent a recording, an audio recording, to a transcriber, and they sent me back a completed manuscript that needed cleaning up. Those are my favorite kind of books to write. And they're basically an accumulation of a lot of speeches, a lot of talks, PowerPoint and whatever, so that by the end of a couple of years delivering that material, there was a new book that complemented the earlier books. All right, next question. Maybe this might be the last one. Spiritually speaking, if there is one word that describes what sharing my, our, your writing could do for the world, what is it? Enlighten. One word, our writing does and will enlighten the word. I'm putting it in one word. Bring light to, bring joy to, elevate. That's what it's about. You have a view of reality that has never been possessed, seen, heard, or felt in your heart by any human being and never will be again. That's why the universe wanted to be you. You have this precious window. Yet, your experiences from your unique vantage point will create lessons and richness that will embolden those you share it with. This is the beauty. We're all one. We're all in this together. And that's why you got to write the book or the audio program or the t-shirt or the tea bag or whatever it is for you. Give the talk, play the song. You have that feeling. It brought you to this event. There's meaning there. There's profound meaning. And if from dangling from a hope, fear and desperation, I, an accountant, could wrangle together all that's come together thanks entirely to the universe. Anybody can do this. It'd be your style, in your way, on your schedule. I implore you to take all that I've shared to heart. If it didn't resonate, chuck it out the window. But if there was any morsels that might have inspired you, encouraged you, then take it and run. That's why we had this date with destiny. Okay, fellow writers, authors, hope to see you in the Author's Lair in August. The links are below. Sign up before August 8th and you'll get the free 21-day journey, the writer's journey. I hope and look forward to when our paths cross in the future one day. It has been an absolute honor and privilege that I take so seriously to be given this stage, which would not exist had you not shown up today. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Much love from Manzanillo, as my daughter does, 2 hearts. Much love. Happily ever after. See you on the trail of life one day. I think we're going to call this a wrap.